Hello there. This is a video that's going to show you how to manually format a document in Google Docs into MLA format for our class. There's a lot that goes into MLA formatting, but the 9 most important elements that you'll need for our purposes are the ones that I have listed up here at the top of the page. And I'm going to show you how to go through each one of these to make sure that your document is ready to go with this. The text below is just copied from the Holy Ghost Prep website. It's just designed to give us something to help us see how these formatting changes occur. So the first thing we need to do when we're setting something up in MLA formatting is to make sure that we have 1-inch margins around the borders of the page. That's this blank space that you see around the edges of the page. Typically, a document, usually when you open up Google Docs, has 1-inch margins already. But the way to check to make sure that that's actually the case is by clicking up in these elements up here. This is where you're going to find all of the elements that you need for making sure that your document is set up properly. And in Google Docs, we need to go to File and down to Page Setup. And when we click on Page Setup, you will see this column over here on the right that says Margins. And you can see that the entire document is set for 1-inch margins on all sides. Okay, so that we've already got set up properly, and that's excellent. So we can consider that all finished. That one's done. Okay. Now, the 4-line MLA header. This is at the top corner of the page in the very first line that you would normally be able to type in. So exactly where this clicker or this cursor is right now. You need to include 4 things. Okay, 4 pieces of information, which will help your teacher know who, or anybody who's looking at this document, know who is the person responsible for creating it. Okay? And so those things include your name, so first name and last name, okay, both of those. And then you're also going to need a combination of the date. You're going to need your teacher's name, okay, with all the proper honorifics. So, you know, if it's Mr. So-and-so or Dr. So-and-so, you should have that there. And then finally, you should have the class that you're writing this assignment for. So if it's for World History class, you'd put World History 1 or World History and all that. And this is, and like I said, this is your first name and last name, by the way. You have to put this stuff here in the very top corner in the place where you would normally be able to have your cursor when you first open up this document. Okay. Some people are very particular about the order of these elements. I think the MLA organization officially says that there's a certain order. For our purposes, really, as long as your name is the first thing here and these 3 things are here in any other order, I personally don't particularly care which of these is first and which of these is second and third and all that. Okay, so as long as you have those 4 pieces of information, you're pretty safe. Okay. So that takes care of these 2 elements. We have our 4-line header in MLA required formatting with the 4 elements, and then 1-inch margins. Okay. Next, you need to have proper pagination. Meaning you need page numbers on anything that you are submitting, okay? And you need those to also include your name with them. To set up page numbers in MLA formatting, again, you're going to click up here to these elements, and then if you go to Insert and you click on Page Numbers, you want to choose the option that puts page numbers in the top right of the document, okay? Now you can see that there's 2 options that do that. One that has them here, okay, top right, where you have a number 1 on the first page and a number 2 on the second page. And then there's this other option here where there's no number on the first page and then you start with your numbers on the second page. You want this one. You want numbers from the get-go, right, on the start. And you want them at the top of the page. This automatically places, by using the proper command up here, this automatically places the page number in the proper spot in the document. What you shouldn't do, okay, is try to do something like this, where you create your own page number that goes like this, okay? Because if you do this, the page number is not automatically going to continue on to the next page. The only reason that it continues the way it has here is because I set up the page numbers properly. Okay, so make sure that you're not manually typing in the page number. That also will mess up your 4-line header at the start. Okay, you want that thing to be up here. So use the insert page number. And you also have to make sure your name is there. And what we talk about is your last name. That's what we're looking for. So if I try to click up here once, I don't get any traction. This does not allow me to click anything. And that's because this area of the page inside the 1-inch margin at the top is its own special typing area called the header. It's unfortunate that this is called a header, and then Google Docs and Microsoft Word call this area of the page a header. It's just an unfortunate overlap in the names. But this area, the header, can only be accessed if you double click in that space. Okay, so once you've got the page number there, you can add your last name in front of that number. So if it were me, I would say Scanlon1. Okay. And again, if you've done this properly, right, it should automatically reappear on the next page. Whereas if you were to type, if you were trying to make your own header space, by adding an extra line here and typing, Scanlon1 or whatever your name would be, and moving it over here, you notice that is not going to automatically continue to the next page. So do it properly by hitting insert page number, and then after you've inserted that page number properly, you can double click in this area, and then you can put your last name there. So 3 down. The next thing to check is you want to make sure you have consistent font usage. All of the fonts in your document should be the same. Same color, same style, same size, same everything. And nothing should be in bold, nothing should be different colors. Everything should be one nice consistent font. The easy way to check for that is if you start off typing a document by yourself, that's not going to be an issue, because if you haven't manually changed the font, it won't be a problem. But if you have a document with multiple types of fonts, for instance, notice that this is slightly different font than this is, right? This is Arial 11 font. This is Arial 13 font. You can also see that this is a slightly different color as well, okay? So the easy way to fix this is to highlight everything that you need to work with. So you can either click and drag like this, or you can hit Control-A, and that'll highlight everything in your document. And if you select your font, so you say, let's say we want it Arial, let's say we want it 12, okay? So now everything is the same. You can make sure that the color is all the same. So now if we hit this, and you'll notice that this text has gotten darker, okay? You can also, if you just hit normal text, it should automatically make everything the same, but you'll notice that it has changed some other things in the document. So you have different options for how you fix the fonts. But again, make sure that all of your fonts are the same. The thing that most people forget is after they fix their fonts like this, the way we just did it, they forget to check if this up here is the same. So let's say, for instance, we changed everything into Times New Roman font. I think most people like Times New Roman font for their academic work, okay? But if you notice, I've changed this font, but what hasn't changed? This font up here, right? This might be in Times New Roman, but this is still in the default Arial that comes with a normal Google Doc. So if you're going to change anything down here, make sure that you also change it up in the header. And you do that the exact same way. You just highlight all the text and you can say Times New Roman. More and more people are accepting things that aren't Times New Roman in their MLA documents, and that's fine. Again, it's really more important that it's consistent. Like I just noticed, for instance, this is Times New Roman 12, and this is Times New Roman 11. So if I was going to do this the proper way, I would set that to 12 as well. Okay, so now we've got our consistent font usage. That's all taken care of. Next, we need to have a title, okay? And the title should be centered on the page. And so we would just put our title here. Let's say this is a title. You want to hit center align to make that centered. What you don't want to do is hit tab, or you don't want to, for instance, hit space bar a billion times to make that centered. You want to have it formally centered by using this button up here, center align. And the title needs to be, again, not in bold, not in strange fonts or anything to draw attention to it. But the one thing that you do with the fonts to make it with the title to make it special is you have to capitalize all of the important words. Okay. So you'll notice that this starts off with a capital, but I don't have is, a, and this T in title capitalized. Okay. So what counts as an important word? Well, it's kind of hard to tell. Obviously, nouns and verbs. Prepositions are not typically useful, things like in and out. Verbs like is, are, was, were, and definite articles and indefinite articles like a, an, and the generally aren't capitalized. So it's hard sometimes to tell. When in doubt, capitalize things, but you quickly will figure out over time what would count as an important word for the title to have it like this. Okay. So there's our title, centered and capitalized. Okay, so far so good. The next thing we need to look for is double spacing. Okay, your entire document should be double spaced in the sense that there should be some extra space in between each paragraph and each line of every paragraph. So if you look here, you can see that these lines kind of are right next to each other. Okay, they follow right next to each other without any extra spacing. What you don't want to do is something like this to add extra spacing. You don't want to, hit this enter key after each one, because then if you start typing again and you add more to your paragraph, now you have to fix that, which is going to be a pain. So instead, what we do is we ask Google to do all the hard work for us. And again, you want everything in the document to be double spaced. So you would highlight everything that's in the document, and then you would go to Format, you would go to Line Spacing, and then you're going to choose Double. You'll notice that the default for Google is 1.15. Instead, you want double spacing. You see how much this spreads things out. Okay, so everything is double spaced now. And you'll notice that if I go from line to line, it goes immediately to the next line. It doesn't go to the extra space in between. It goes from line to line. Okay, very good. Now, closely related to this is that you should not have any additional spacing between paragraphs. This is one of the harder ones to spot unless you're looking at actual pieces of paragraphs. So let's look down here. If you notice, between this paragraph and this paragraph, there's this extra space down here. And you would think that, oh, that's just because there's an extra enter button press in between them. But if I go here to here, I'm only pressing the down key and up key once. There's this extra space that Google has added in between these paragraphs. Okay, and it even will stay if I do the exact same thing again, add an extra paragraph between. It's created this extra space here. And we don't want that. We want every single line, whether it's in this paragraph or this paragraph, wherever, to all follow each other with the same even spacing that we have within paragraphs. Okay. This is one that Google and Microsoft Word make very difficult to change. It's one of the harder ones to spot if you're not practiced at looking for it. But the way you fix it is, again, highlight everything in your document and then go to line spacing. And you can see that there is this option for add space after paragraph and add space before paragraph. Usually, what we're looking for is to remove the space after paragraph. And sometimes it doesn't list it as an option. But what I find is that if you click it once, it'll add the space. And then if you click it again, remove space after paragraph, it generally fixes it, right? So you'll see I haven't done anything else down here, but now all of a sudden my paragraphs follow one after another with no extra gap space in between. Okay. Why Google doesn't have remove space after paragraph as an option, why it says the same thing, add and add, when really you need add and remove. The remove is what you want. I don't know. But for whatever reason, now you can see there's a nice even look to all of this. Every line follows the other one in the same way. So there's our no additional spacing. Next, we need left justified. Okay, that means, how do we see the nice flat even line on the side of the page? Do we have a left line where all of these words are lined up with one another? And over here is jaggedy. We call that left justified. If we were to take this paragraph and make it right justified or right aligned like this, you would see that the right side has now been justified or right aligned, and this side is jaggedy. You can also have justified on both sides, where this is a flat line and this is a flat line, but this is not preferred in MLA. In MLA, you want left alignment or left justified. So you're looking for everything lined up properly on the left side of the page and a jaggedy, sort of uneven spacing of things on the right side of the page. The only place where you don't do this is the title. Everything else on the page should be left justified or left aligned. Okay, so that's fine. And then the final thing we have to do is every paragraph needs to be indented. So the start of every paragraph needs to be indented. And the way that we do this is not by hitting spacebar, for instance, because that's going to produce uneven results. You want to hit the tab key, which can be found in the upper left of your keyboard. Okay. So at the start of every paragraph, we're going to hit the tab key to make sure that we've got everything indented properly. Okay, so we're going through. There's one more paragraph. There we go. So now we can run through this one more time and make sure. Now you'll notice I have some extra spaces in between here. So we're going to get rid of these to make sure that we have our everything lined up properly. Get rid of this. We don't want an extra space between the title and the first paragraph. So there we go. And now we can go through our list again. Okay, so 9 things. Do we have our page number up here with our name? Correct. 4-line MLA required header. Correct. We have a title that's centered and the special words are capitalized. Correct. Do we have double spacing throughout? It looks like we do. Always double check your title too. People often forget to fix this area. And do we have no extra spacing between paragraphs? We're good in that regard. Do we have consistent font usage throughout? Yes, specifically looking up here to make sure we haven't messed that up. Good. We have everything left justified right here. So we got a straight line down the left side and a jaggedy line up the right side. The center is, and the title is centered. That's good. And we have everything indented here. So that's good. So as far as I can tell, this document looks properly formatted according to the rules of MLA format.